Vanessa Holt vanished the night her stolen car launched off McAllen Bridge, but it was Kyle Merrick, a ghost from her past, who left behind the blood trail. When her purse was found in a wrecked sedan and Kylie's burned truck surfaced deep in the woods months later, a chilling question remained: was Vanessa the victim, or the one who got away? The crash scene beneath McAllen Bridge was both chaotic and eerie. The early morning fog still clung to the river when the fisherman spotted something strange in the water, a glint of metal that didn't belong. He hiked closer and saw the crushed remains of a black sedan submerged at an awkward angle, its back end barely visible above the current. Authorities arrived within the hour and cordoned off the area. As divers entered the cold water, they quickly confirmed that the car had been launched from the bridge above, not driven off accidentally. The damage to the front and side panels showed signs of a collision at high speed, and the undercarriage had fresh scrape marks, as if it had been shoved over a guardrail with force. Inside the vehicle, responders found scattered personal items: a purse, a phone with a shattered screen, and a torn envelope with an address in the nearby town of Lorneville. There was blood on the dashboard and smeared across the steering wheel, but strangely, there was no sign of the driver or any passengers. A tow truck hauled the wreckage out of the river, and the car was taken to a forensic lab for further analysis. What raised even more questions was that the car had fake plates. A check of the vehicle identification number revealed it had been reported stolen 3 days earlier from a convenience store lot 2 towns away. News of the discovery spread quickly through the small community, and people began to speculate. Was it a drunk driver who fled the scene? Was someone trying to fake their death? The situation didn't feel like a normal accident. Investigators became more suspicious when they examined the tire marks leading up to the bridge. They found a second set of treads wider, heavier, that appeared to accelerate behind the stolen car. These marks stopped abruptly at the guardrail, as if the vehicle following had backed away after impact. This was no longer being treated as an accident. It had all the signs of a hit and run, possibly even attempted murder. Yet with no body, no confirmed identity, and no witnesses, detectives were left with more questions than answers. The only solid lead was the name on the envelope found inside the car: Vanessa Holt. By the end of the day, police were already knocking on her door, only to find that she hadn't been seen in over 24 hours. Investigators immediately turned their attention to the name found in the car: Vanessa Holt. A nurse at the Lorneville Regional Hospital, she had finished her late shift the night before the crash and never made it home. Her landlord confirmed she hadn't returned to her apartment, and her car was still parked in its usual spot. Her purse, found in the stolen sedan, was unmistakably hers. A missing person report was filed, and her photo circulated throughout the county. Friends and coworkers described Vanessa as reliable and cautious, not the type to vanish or associate with dangerous people. Surveillance footage became the next key focus. Investigators combed through hours of traffic camera recordings from the route leading out of town. They finally caught a break when they spotted the stolen sedan speeding down Route 9 around 12:13 a.m., just 2 miles from the bridge. It was closely followed by a large pickup truck, dark gray, high suspension, with fog lights and a front-end dent that appeared fresh. The footage was grainy, and the truck's license plate was unreadable, but its aggressive positioning behind the sedan was enough to raise alarms. Investigators then pulled footage from nearby gas stations and intersections, hoping to catch a clearer image of the truck or its driver. One camera captured the pickup parked briefly outside a closed hardware store less than an hour before the bridge incident. Though the driver stayed inside, the timestamp matched the window when Vanessa would have been driving home from her shift. This suggested that the suspect may have been lying in wait or stalking her movements. Back at the crash site, forensic analysts found that the second set of tire tracks belonged to a larger vehicle. Impressions in the dirt matched the type of tires typically used on lifted pickup trucks. On the bridge railing itself, they discovered faint paint transfer metallic gray, consistent with the truck seen in the footage. The working theory was beginning to solidify. Someone had chased Vanessa down, rammed her stolen car, and forced it off the bridge. But why use a stolen vehicle? And how did Vanessa end up in it? The mystery deepened when forensics confirmed the blood inside the car belonged to Vanessa. This, along with her missing status and the stolen car, turned a suspicious crash into something far darker: a deadly hit and run that appeared carefully planned and disturbingly personal. Detectives now focused on reconstructing Vanessa's final hours. Her last confirmed sighting was around 11:40 p.m., when she was seen leaving the hospital parking lot. Security footage showed her walking to her own car, a silver sedan she used every day. But that car never left the lot. Instead, minutes later, a black sedan pulled in from the rear entrance and exited shortly after. Investigators theorize that Vanessa may have been forced into the stolen vehicle or lured there under false pretenses. Either way, someone else had taken control of the situation, and she never made it to her car. When investigators searched Vanessa's apartment, they found no signs of struggle or forced entry. Her belongings were untouched, and the apartment appeared as she had left it earlier that day. But her phone history revealed something strange: dozens of missed calls and texts from an unlisted number over the past week. Most messages had been deleted, but enough fragments remained to identify a pattern of threats and demands. Tracing the number led detectives to a prepaid burner phone purchased in a nearby town. The purchaser was eventually linked to Kyle Merrick, a man with a long criminal history that included robbery, assault, and stalking. Recently released from prison, Kyle had moved back to the area and was living in a trailer on the outskirts of Lornville. Investigators quickly dug into his past and discovered that he had briefly worked with Vanessa nearly 10 years ago at a fast food restaurant. There had been no known contact since until now. Neighbors near Kyle Merrick's trailer said they hadn't seen him for days. When officers came to look for him, the trailer was empty. Most of his things were gone, and even the floor looked like it had been cleaned on purpose. But one item was left behind: a torn photo of Vanessa Holt from her college graduation. It was old, folded, and looked like someone had carried it around often. In a drawer, they also found a faded newspaper article about Kyle's past arrest and a note that said, "She lied." At this point, detectives believed Kyle had targeted Vanessa for a reason they didn't yet understand. Maybe he blamed her for something from the past. What started as a mysterious hit and run now became a full manhunt. Kyle was missing, Vanessa was still gone, and time was running out. The search for Kyle expanded to other states. The FBI got involved and listed him as a fugitive connected to a possible murder. Weeks later, a motel worker in Idaho reported seeing someone who looked like Kyle. He had checked in with a fake name, paid cash, and left quickly. Police found the motel room empty, but under the bed, they discovered a dirty duffel bag. Inside were clothes, a broken fog light matching the one seen in surveillance videos, and a bag of wet sand likely from the river under the bridge. Also inside was a surprising photo: a younger Vanessa standing next to Kyle, both smiling. It looked like they had once been close. Detectives asked Vanessa's family about this, and her sister admitted Kyle had been Vanessa's high school boyfriend. They broke up suddenly, and Vanessa never talked about him again. This changed how detectives saw the case. Kyle hadn't just followed Vanessa randomly, it was personal. He had been tracking her for weeks. Phone records showed his burner phone had been near her workplace many nights. He had been watching her closely. Later, a car expert confirmed that the gray paint found on the bridge railing matched work done on Kyle's truck. That confirmed he was likely the one who pushed Vanessa's car off the bridge. But no one knew how Vanessa ended up in that stolen car or why her body wasn't found. Then, months later, a hunter in the mountains found a burned truck in the woods. It was Kyle's. Not far from it were human remains. Dental records confirmed it was Kyle, and he had been shot in the chest. No gun was found, and police couldn't tell if someone killed him or if he took his own life. Digging deeper, detectives learned Vanessa had visited a private investigator shortly before she disappeared. She told him she felt someone from her past was watching her. She never followed up after that. Her family also received a strange letter after she vanished. It said only, "The truth drowned with her." There were still no clear answers. Some people thought Vanessa had died that night on the bridge. Others believed she escaped and went into hiding. Witnesses claimed they saw a woman who looked like her in different towns, always alone and leaving quickly. The case was officially closed after Kyle's death, but Vanessa was never found. Her name is still on the list of missing people. The real truth about what happened that night may forever stay buried in the river's silence.